at Smoozy Q and keep listening to 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Talk radio made in St. Louis for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL.
Our responsibility.
News, analysis, and opinion.
To provide updated guidance.
At 1019, 94.1, and newstalkstl.com. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stiefel. Contact your Stiefel financial advisor at stiefel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
Lying dog-faced pony shoulder. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. I'm happy to report the on-air light is working today, so I started talking.
I have to tell you both something. I'm so sorry. I know this is the beginning of the show, but it has to pertain with the on-air light. Joey did email me and was like, wait, are you guys joking that it's my fault? Do you guys really think it's
Joey.
my fault? I'm like, no, Joey.
It's our sixth sense of humor, Joey. We're sorry.
You're just one of us. It's fun to bully each other.
Give
Joey's
Joey
very conscientious.
Give Joey a complex. Sorry. No, we weren't.
I'm like, no, Joey, it was not your fault.
We just totally made that up, Joey. Sorry. That's our sixth sense of
We
humor.
had to have somebody to blame.
Yes. Welcome to 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. If you're just tuning in this afternoon, welcome to this afternoon's edition of the show here on September the 14th, 2022. Chris Arps, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Well, no, I'm not actually doing well.
Okay.
Actually, I'm a little teed off today over a political story. And I usually don't get mad at stories. I've been in politics for 20 years. I've been involved with dirty tricks. People have done dirty tricks to campaigns and to me. But
Pray tell.
But what the Democrats are foisting on the American people or trying to perpetrate on the American people is just shameless. And what I'm talking about is today, the January 6th Select Committee on the investigation of what happened at the Capitol, they have announced that they will restart their hearings on September 28th. That is 1 month before the election, a little over a month before the election. And notice I said hearings with an S, not just one hearing. I mean, this is so shamelessly political to hold hearings like this that could affect the midterm elections a month before the election is just shameless to me. And I hope, and I'm not holding my breath, but I hope the media calls them out on this. And I hope that the Republicans can score good political points on this shameless political theater.
Yeah, Chris, I mean, it's one thing. Look, most of the times I had a consultant back when I was in the legislature who's famous for a phrase, come on, you got to get the joke. Do they get the joke? Do you get the joke? Do they get the joke? And his reference of getting the joke was like, look, we're all doing this because XYZ thing is just a political maneuver. And so, okay, most of the time, yeah, everybody gets the joke. We understand it's all politics. But when you're leveraging something this blatantly and badly, it says to me one good thing, Chris, that they feel they have nothing else to run on and they got to throw one more Hail Mary 30 days before the election, that they're a bit desperate.
Well, it's extremely desperate and dangerous to me. The Democrats have a history of when they have a national showcase that they go overboard and turn people off. You remember in 2002, the election that ushered in my former boss, Jim Talent, Senator Wellstone from Pennsylvania, died tragically in a car crash. They had a national funeral for him. And instead of memorializing him and remembering his service to the nation and to the Democratic Party, it became a bash Republican fest. And a lot of people say that that was a reason that the Democrats lost in that year. And you know, they're saying September 28th. What I'm seeing here in this report, that's the goal, is to start by September 28th. So they may start these hearings sometime in October, just weeks before the election.
I think it's our job and the job of people like us at stations all across the country. And number one, it's primarily the job, of course, of the RNC and the candidates themselves. You got to keep people focused on what matters. And what matters was the devastating news that came out yesterday that the economy is not headed in the right direction. And Chris, this story popped across my my email inbox this morning about the looming crisis that no one's talking about. And I wasn't aware of this. I think I'd heard a tidbit maybe a week or two ago. And that's now something that's starting to hit the mainstream headlines. The railroads may now go on strike.
You've done it again. That is actually Chris's Corner
I
at
love it.
442.
I'll say nothing more about it.
Oh, we can talk about it. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that, my observations on it as being a former union member myself and supervising Teamster union members. And I have some thoughts on this potential strike that could cripple the nation's supply chain that's already crippled. So I have a few thoughts. You want to hang on at 442 for Chris's Corner.
If folks don't know, there's a lot of things you don't even think about with railroads that I didn't think about until I heard the report today. Railroads are point-to-point part of the supply chain in so many ways, from ports to stores to trucking centers and distribution points. And if you think about how long some of those trains are, I mean, think about how long some of those trains are that you have to wait for at a crossing, you know, in and around the St. Louis area. And think about putting each one of those boxcars on a truck. You're talking one train is carrying the goods of 100 or more trucks. I mean, you're talking about thousands, tens, millions of goods. So, Chris, I'm glad you're doing your corner on that today.
And not only are we talking about shortages in supermarkets and in stores because of a possible railroad strike, but you're also going to have shortages in getting your packages. When I worked at UPS, UPS uses the railroad extensively to transport packages and put those on trucks and bring them into hubs. So not only will your food and items be not coming across because of that. I mean, if you order a package, it may be delayed because it's caught up in the system like that.
And you can blame this. You know what? You can put this at the feet of Joe Biden, because if Trump was president, they'd sure be blaming him. Just add this to the list of crises that the Democrats don't want to talk about. Everything they want to talk about revolves around a fake, phony scandal or scam or hoax.
And Tim, they are in such a bind in this. The president has the power to call this strike off if it is going to endanger national security or people's health. But of course, the unions are one of the Democrats' constituencies.
Yes.
Do they, with an election looming, get involved in this and stop a union strike? Or do they just sit back and do nothing while Americans suffer because the supply chain is decreasing? They're going to be in an interesting spot.
This is the catch-22 of Hobbesian choices. They're going to be in a bind and a pickle on this one. Somebody else who may be in a bind is the Department of Justice and Merrick Garland. We haven't talked about the Mar-a-Lago raid in a bit, but we're going to talk about it with Horace Cooper next. The special master order reveals Biden's direct involvement in Trump raid. That's something we're going to ask Horace Cooper to further explain to us, senior fellow at the National Center for Public Policy Research. Chris and I will discuss that issue with him and several more, as we always do when we
Amazon, or anywhere else you get your podcasts.
Blue Oyster Cult, live in concert. One of the most iconic bands in classic rock. Blue Oyster Cult, with special guests Mark Farner's American Band and Head East. This Friday, 7 p.m., the Family Arena. Tickets on sale now at the Carroll House box office, at the Family Arena, or at Ticketmaster.
Get ready, because here they come.
1, 2, 3, 4.
It's Beatlemania all over again with the Fab Four, the ultimate tribute to the Beatles. Entertainment Tonight says seeing the Fab Four is just like seeing the Beatles. Hey Jude. The Fab Four takes you through the 60s with the music that changed our lives. It's a show you won't want to miss.
Saturday, October 1st at the Family Arena. Tickets on sale now at the Carroll House box office, located at the Family Arena or at Ticketmaster.
Hey, Columbo here for our family dentist, Dr. Matt Boscia at New Creation Dental Care, a one-stop solution for all your family's dental needs, including braces. Dr. Boscia uses the My Forever Smile Braces system, which straightens teeth many times in less than a year for half the price of traditional braces. Traditional braces or Invisalign can cost $6,000 or more, but Dr. Boscia only charges $29.98 for My Forever Smile, and incentives and insurance can lower the price even more. Plus, New Creation offers in-office financing. Learn more at newcreationdentalcare.com.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
We're hearing a lot about this new law coming to Illinois, and on Thursday's program, we're going to look into it. Are all suspects actually going to be let out of jail?
Mornings starting at 5:30 on News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Yesterday, housing, food, all kinds of sectors seeing inflation. Gas prices are down, which was some good news over the last couple of months, but a tough number yesterday.
A tough number yesterday. It's interesting because they knew the number was coming yesterday, and yet they scheduled the event.
Well, even MSDNC calling out the Biden administration for having a Marie Antoinette moment on the White House lawn yesterday. Let them eat cake, Joe Biden might as well have said in that little victory lap yesterday. I think most Americans were like, dude, do you see the stock ticker? Amazing amount of tone deafness, Chris, on a weird day.
Yeah, and they took a gamble because they knew when this report was going to be announced, and I think they took a gamble that it was going to be a good number. And then along with this celebration as well, they could point to their bill responsible for lowering inflation. Unfortunately for them, the report is not what they expected, and that's why they look like complete fools with eggs on their face, celebrating, as you say, while they're telling us to go eat cake.
Fiddling while Rome is burning. Let's see what our next guest thinks about that, and as many other issues as we can throw at him, we'll know he'll handle them. Horace Cooper, Senior Fellow at the National Center for Public Policy Research, co-chairman of Project 21. Horace, welcome back to the program. Thanks for joining Chris and I today.
Hello, Professor.
Hey, it is always a great time to come on this program.
Thank you, my friend.
Horace, we love having you. So, Horace, are we overplaying this? Are we making too much out of Joe Biden's little victory lap yesterday as the stock market plunged nearly 1,300 points? Are Americans paying attention 55 days before a major midterm election? Horace, will this matter?
Okay, so I don't want to be an advocate for violence because neither your show nor I or anyone on the right advocates any violence. But the last time we heard let them eat cake, someone lost their head. Now, let's be clear. The problems that the American people face is very serious. And for a president to hold a victory lap event when not only did he cause the problem continues and is getting checkout lane. They need to have one of these things at the grocery store where you can do a pay it over 90 days application where it instantly applies. These prices for eggs, for milk, even bacon are at skyrocketing prices. And, it's one thing when the prices go up and maybe they do that for 60 days. All of us will complain about it. But when it looks like it's forever, I'm going to go back to Marie Antoinette.
Horace, you had a great article that was posted in the Washington Times, a great opinion piece, talking about the nationwide crime wave, and that the FBI should focus on that instead of on Mar-a-Lago. And I agree with you 100%. And to give you an example of that, we had a potential fire keg here in St. Louis. Over the weekend, there was a youth that was 16 years old that was out in an area where drugs were probably being sold. Undercover police officers rode down on the scene. He ran through a hole into an alley. The police chased him. He slipped and fell, and his gun came loose and fell to the ground. He reached for the gun, and the two officers shot and killed him. His mother is saying that because these were undercover officers, they didn't announce who they were. He didn't know who they were, all of that, not even really addressing the fact that a 16-year-old was out at 11:30 at night on a school night the next night carrying a gun. Talk a little bit about that and your article, sir.
Okay. Well, first, let me say in my book how Trump is making Black America great again. I mentioned a relative of a teenager in Florida who was actually shot by a homeowner during a break-in. That relative said he didn't have to kill him. And another of the same teenager's relatives said, how is he supposed to get his new shoes for school? I think they called them kickers.
Yeah.
The behavior of a mother, and we all feel sad when a parent loses a child. One day, all of us are going to lose our parents, but it's a real tragic day when a parent loses their child. But we got to keep our eye on the ball. Your child should not be out at 11:30 at night doing anything, let alone engaging in criminal behavior. My mother and father explained to me why I had a curfew. She said, because I was too dumb to understand. The more the sun went away and the darker it got, the closer I was supposed to be at home. Since I couldn't figure that out, she gave me a curfew. We have an epidemic in America of parents refusing to set ground rules for their children. And also what we have is a bunch of people normalizing criminal behavior. I don't know what the end result of this particular incident is, but I'll just tell you, if mom and dad set basic ground rules, what you'll see is fewer shootings, fewer drug involvement, and more people graduating from high school, even successfully going to school. Now, the FBI is supposed to be helping America fight its gang problem, fight its high crime problem, go to those places and communities where there are elevated levels of crime, and help U.S. attorneys find ways to prosecute cases so that we can lower those. But they're not available to do that. They're busy subpoenaing people who either put a sign or a flag in their front yards like they did in Alaska that were critical of the president. They have to go and fly to Alaska and subpoena and ask them questions, interrogate them, and threaten them with arrest. With Mar-a-Lago, what we have is a circumstance where presidential records, which for nearly 30 years have been a post-presidency issue, they've decided, to use a term, make a federal case out of it. They are using manpower. They're using investigatory authorities. They are wasting, even with a grand jury, wasting time that clearly ought to be spent in helping the Americans that live in some of the more dangerous places. Guess what? Poor, working class, and black people are harmed as a result of this political fixation that is happening by the FBI.
Yeah, Horace, I want to follow up on that. Following up on that article, the issues Chris just mentioned, and what this White House is doing. Horace, the American people really have I don't know if it's a tough decision or not. They have an important decision to make in 55 days or so. They have to decide if they want a political party in charge that, as you just discussed, politicizes everything, uses the heavy hand of the federal government to target and go after their political enemies, decides that everything has to be about racial stereotypes and gender stereotypes. Well, if they can figure out what gender anybody is anymore these days, that everything is always, it seems to me, very pessimistically glass half empty with them. It's always the victim mentality versus a party that I believe the Republican Party is tending more towards, a party that has a bigger tent, a more welcoming tent, wants to actually work on these real issues that are affecting Americans, one crisis after another that we've been experiencing over the last 2 years. Horace, do you think the Republicans have the candidates and the messaging to cut through on that from what you're seeing both parties doing less than 2 months before the midterm?
Well, I'm going to give my quick analysis on the two parties. One of the parties is the political equivalent of a serial killer. Your children, your family, everybody you know may in fact become a victim of this political serial killer. The other one is not. So I let people make a choice as to whether or not they want to embrace one particular agenda or not. But when you talk about the progressives broadly, it's like what I was taught when I was first in law school. If you have the law on your side, argue the law. If you have the facts on your side, argue the facts. If you don't, then you get really, really desperate and you do crazy things like what we're seeing with this administration and its progressives aggressively kill the American economy, the energy sector, wipe out the savings of the American people, and then give a speech where you say, well, don't worry about all that crazy stuff we've done. Just remember, the other party's dangerous. The other party's fascist. Present no evidence of that. Present no ability of the American people to even see that that is the case. And don't even try to reverse your own policies. You have no facts. You don't have the law. You just have desperation. That's what we're witnessing now.
Horace, I think you had to catch yourself for a second there when you said crazy stuff. I think you were about to say something else there, my friend. Thank you for catching that. So where are you going to be at tonight, Laura or Tucker tonight on Fox?
I'm getting ready to go to we'll call it a conference of conservatives before the FBI can get there. That's going to be held in Dallas over the next 4 days. Oh. And I am going to spend some time presenting some of the great ideas I think that we at Project 21 have. And I'm also working on the next book, which I'm in conversations with for either a Christmas delivery or maybe early January. Put you all back in chains. How Joe Biden's policies harm blacks.
Is that a working title or is that the title?
That's going to be the title. I'll be able to send a copy of the book cover at the end of this month.
Oh, I can't wait.
Nice. Well, Horace, thank you for that. In the meantime, we invite folks to check out your current book that's available, How Trump is Making Black America Great Again. Horace, Godspeed. Good luck at the conference. Do well and make new friends, as my wife always says.
Thanks, Horace.
Thank you.
Thank you as well. Horace Cooper, Senior Fellow at the National Center for Public Policy Research, co-chairman of Project 21. As we expected, Chris, we threw about 7 different topics at him, and he answered them all.
Very interesting title there. Like I said, is that a working title or is that set in stone? Apparently it is.
Just in time for the election. All right. Hey, we got to get out of here, but we'll be back with Mike Ferguson and Chris's Corner in the next hour. Keep it right here. Go nowhere.
home just by asking for it. West News Magazine is the only print source for the political, school, business, and sports news happening in your hometown. Simply visit westnewsmagazine.com/subscribe or pick up a free copy at all area Deerbergs and Schnuck stores. West News Magazine. Anybody who wants it, gets it. Anybody who gets it, wants it. Subscribe for free today. Simply visit westnewsmagazine.com/subscribe.
Oh, Adam, you are so romantic. And I love the kitchen you found with all these great crumbs.
Yeah, baby, only the finest crumbs in the kitchen for my favorite aunt. Oh no, it's the pest control company again with those green wheels. They always kill the mood.
Call All Solutions Pest Control today at 636-486-7888 and learn more about our special $67 introductory offer, or visit us online at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Americans are tired, frustrated by a stalling economy, inflation, and disintegration of trusted institutions. Millions of Americans are waking up to a country they don't recognize. And while they struggle to raise their families and pay their bills, the media and corporations are telling them they're what's wrong with the country. Thankfully, there are some companies that still believe in America. And when we stick together, greatness follows. Patriot Mobile, America's only Christian conservative cell company, is on the front lines, fighting for the sanctity of life, religious freedom, and the Second Amendment. They have broad nationwide coverage through multiple major networks, giving you crystal clear coverage, minus the woke propaganda supported by the major carriers. Go to patriotmobile.com or call 972-PATRIOT. They have plans for any budget, and their U.S.-based customer service team is ready to help. Veterans and first responders save even more, so make the switch today. Use the offer code RADIO and get free activation. That's patriotmobile.com, patriotmobile.com, or call 972-PATRIOT.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. Correspondent Josh Funk reports all the major freight railroads may go on strike Friday, which would have major impacts across the nation.
Those railroads are based all across the country, but they have tracks in every single state. And they serve businesses in every industry, delivering raw materials that factories use and refineries need to make gasoline. They also deliver a lot of consumer products, food, imported goods, and the packages that we all deliver, we count on from UPS and FedEx.
The railroads have already started to curtail shipments of hazardous materials and have announced plans to stop hauling refrigerated products ahead of Friday's strike deadline. One union agreed to delay any strike by its members until September 29th to allow more time for negotiations and to allow other unions to vote. Amtrak has already canceled a number of its long-distance trains this week. A Republican congressman says the Biden administration is out of touch with the impact of inflation on American families. Bob Agnew reports.
Congressman Mike Gallagher of Wisconsin tells the Salem Radio Network the administration appears to have lost touch with reality.
And that reality is pretty grim right now.
Especially skyrocketing inflation.
Food up 13.5% in the past year. Rent up 6.7%, electricity 15.8%, health insurance 24.3%.
Another component of the struggling economy, Gallagher notes that pay is down by 2.8%. Bob Agnew reporting.
Queen Elizabeth II has left Buckingham Palace for the last time, her casket borne to Westminster Hall by a horse-drawn gun carriage. Her son, King Charles III, and his siblings and sons marched behind the coffin, which was topped by a wreath of white roses and a crown resting on a purple velvet pillow. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 30 points, the Nasdaq rose 86, the S&P 500 advanced 13. More at townhall.com.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Angie's List is now Angie, and we've heard a lot of theories about why.
I thought it was an eco move. Fewer words, less paper.
It was so you could say it faster.
No, it's to be more iconic.
Must be a tech thing. But those aren't quite right. It's because now you can compare upfront prices, book a service instantly, and even get your project handled from start to finish.
Sounds easy.
It is, and it makes us so much more than just a list. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Support is sponsored by Blindster. Do you need new blinds or shades? Blindster.com offers custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters shipped directly to you at prices less than big box retailers. Blindster blinds, easy to install, guaranteed to fit. Don't overpay for new blinds. Shop and save big. Blindster.com. Wrapped up roadwork east and westbound 70 at Zumbell. Still seeing a pretty good jam westbound. Westbound Highway 370 at Elm. They cleared earlier debris. An accident reported in that same area now. There's a crash on north and southbound Howdershell at Utz. Eastbound 270 backing up between Lindbergh and New Florissant. Bumper to bumper eastbound 70 into and across the Museo Veterans Bridge. Looks like you may have an accident southbound 170 north of the Forest Park Parkway. Accident northbound 55 at Rivas Barracks in the right lane. And a solid roadwork backup westbound 64 at Illinois 161. I'm Tori Lyons from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton with your first alert forecast. Not quite as cool tonight, but still a mild night. Low down to 61, lots of 50s in the outlying areas. Clear skies and a high of 87 degrees. It'll be another warm afternoon, but not too humid. Another nice day, really. But we're in the warming trend that just gets a little warmer each day we go. So Friday's high 89, partly cloudy skies. Will hit 90s by the weekend. That's the latest first alert forecast. I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by All Solutions Pest Control, 636-486-7888, or visit them at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
The Range St. Louis West is Missouri's best indoor shooting range. With 20 climate-controlled lanes, over 70 firearms available to rent, and the best staff in the business, you're guaranteed to enjoy every minute of your time with us. Our impressive showroom is full of the latest and greatest offerings from the best manufacturers in the business. Need an optic, spare magazines, holster, or any other accessory? Let our professional staff help you find exactly what you need and get it installed for you. Mention you heard us on News Talk STL and save $100 on your membership and enjoy even more goodies. The Range St. Louis West. Are you ready?
Are you downright disgusted with the corruption of our Democratic leadership at St. Louis City Hall that's been reported in the news?
Hi, this is Mary Teresa McClain, Chair of the Republican Party City of St. Louis. If you want to put our city that we all love back on track, you must get involved. If you're ready to be part of the solution, we invite you. Come and meet us. Learn more at stlouisrepublicans.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
St. Louis's place to talk.
Because that's where the votes are getting stolen. When you get into the facts and logic and reason thing, it drives me crazy because you're right.
I call it the oh my God virus.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here? As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
No secret, inflation is hammering Americans from just about every angle, with industry analysis revealing the average household is spending $460 more a month than a year ago. But even in this tough and uncertain economic climate, there are strategies to ease the pain. It just takes some planning and creativity.
This morning, stubbornly high prices are weighing on Americans.
It's not just food, it's everything.
According to the newest government data, overall consumer prices increased at a faster pace than anticipated, up 8.3% compared to last year.
Welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 7 minutes after the hour here at 1019 941 News Talk STL on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon, September the 14th, 2022. Chris, MSNBC, NBC, CNBC, CNN, they're all reporting the news these days, and none of the news is good for the White House.
Yeah. On the previous show, Columbo and Katie, you guys had on Rod the Bod, and he was talking about the races, particularly the county council race and the Senate races. And he was saying that that was going to help Mantovani because a lot of Republicans are very motivated this year to come out and vote because of what we just heard in that clip, inflation being high, gasoline prices being high. And usually in midterm elections, Democrats are not as motivated and come out. They do have the Roe v. Wade decision that's going to motivate women. But I think that this is going to be a very good year for the Republican. And I can tell you guys a little inside information. The Democrats are really worried here in St. Louis County and in this region about this Mantovani entering this race. I've heard from very good authority that the word has gone out that any black political operatives who help out on campaigns and get people to walk doors and hold up signs and all of that nature turnout, if any of them go to work for Mantovani, they will be banned from working on future Democratic campaigns. That's how serious they are taking Mantovani's campaign. And that's on very good authority.
Wow.
Well, when the communist leadership talks, you better listen. You better get in line, right? Yeah. I mean, how horrible is that? And, I would agree with that because just anecdotally, this is total anecdotal evidence, but it happened to me about 4 times over the last 24 hours, or maybe even more, with various people that have either emailed me or that I was with today or that sent me a text message. And it's a very simple point. People are asking me, so what about this Mantovani guy? Is this for real? And forget about whether they like him or don't like him or what my answer was. They knew his name, right? No offense to anybody else who was running, but Catherine Pinner's name ID was next to 0. The other people that you mentioned, Chris, that had thrown their name in the hat for the nomination, I barely recognized their names as maybe some folks that I've run into maybe once or twice in the last few years. I didn't know them that well. The Mantovani name will be on the ballot for the 3rd time in the last 3 years, county-wide. So he's got some built-in name ID, and now it's going to be his job and our job and others that want to support him to convince people that he should be the preference choice. But he starts, unlike a lot of the other candidates, with some name ID. And I think it was good that they knew who they were asking me about when they asked.
Yeah, I truly think he has a chance this fall. Tim, what do you say to people that are going to no doubt question our conservative bona fides because we are, and I don't want to speak for you. I don't know if you're supporting Mantovani. I'm assuming that you are. I don't know.
It's him versus Hitler.
Okay.
So I'm going to choose the guy who's not Hitler.
Well, I didn't want to assume and put words in your mouth, but I lost my thought on this.
No, you were asking, what do I say to people who question
what do you say to
yeah.
people who are going to question our conservative bona fides for supporting a guy who ran a couple of times previously as a Democrat and will probably never seen publicly with a MAGA hat on? How do we square that up with the critics?
So if you're with me and somebody asks that question, you may have to hold me because I'm going to jump down their throat because I'm going to shake them figuratively and I'm going to say, hello, wake up. Welcome to reality. This, I agree. Is this the best choice in the world we could have hoped for? Maybe not, but it's the only choice we have. We have a binary choice. We can keep on keeping on with Sam Page, who everyone agrees that I know, who has half any sense, including a lot of Democrats that I know, that he's not the guy who needs to continue to run the county. And so is Mantovani, is he the re-embodiment of Ronald Reagan or Donald Trump? Heck no. But he is, I believe, 80 shades better than continuing on with Sam Page.
And he's going to have to do this for the remainder of the campaign, the 56 days that are left. How can he reassure Republicans, conservatives, that if he does win, that he's not going to get in office and govern like Tashara Jones?
Correct.
How does he make that? How does he reassure people of
he's
that.
He's going to have to tell stories, Chris, about his record that I've heard before. He does really well. And I know we're going to have Mike Ferguson on at 4:25. And Mike, I think, did not think Manavani brought his fastball this morning to the morning show. I thought he did well with us yesterday, didn't you?
I think he did as well as you could expect.
So maybe he's not a morning guy. He's going to have to become one for the next 55 days because he's going to have to be working almost around the clock. And so, I think what we're going to have to hear, Chris, is some of the stories I've heard from him in his previous elections. I was able to sit down with him years ago when he first ran against Stenger and met him then. And then I reacquainted myself. Like, look, we're not besties. Like, we don't hang out. But the last few times he's run for office, I have been at a couple of his events and fundraisers. He does really well when he's speaking with people because he's got a great story to tell. In a nutshell, Chris, here's what he says. I grew up in this county. I love this county. I've made my living here. I've made my life here. I've been trying to convince my kids and my grandkids to stay here, but I'm losing the argument with them because they keep giving me very good arguments back as to why they should get the heck out. And I don't want that to happen to my future generations. Mm-hmm. What he will say is, I am not doing this for the money. I've made my money. I'm not doing this for the fame or fortune because I'm going to make a lot of enemies throughout this process. And less people are going to like me after I'm done with this than before. He says, I'm literally doing this because I want this county and this region to stop failing. And I think I have a couple of ideas that may help pull us back from the brink. It's a really good story that he tells.
One of the reasons why I think he did well yesterday on the interview, Katie told us during the break that a listener called in or wanted information on how they could contact his campaign. Yes. They felt that he did well on the interview, and they were interested. So I don't know. It's going to be.
We did get an email.
Yeah, we got an email. That's what it was. And so I think there's interest in him.
And listener Sharon Beetle Baby on Twitter, she put this out publicly. And look, Sharon is a hardcore Trumpy P1 listener loyalist, and we love her very much. She said, look, she kind of made the same points we're all making. This is the choice we have. We all know that Sam Page is terrible. If Mark Manavani can tell his story and convince people that he genuinely wants to govern on the center-right side of the political spectrum, I think that's all we can ask of him, and I think he's worth a chance because what we've got now has gone from bad to worse to hellish.
Yeah. And I just got a text message from a friend of ours that you would know, and if I told you all out there who he is, you definitely know who he is. But he said, as long as I texted him and asked him what did he think of Mantovani. This person is a very conservative, very strong supporter of Donald Trump. He said, as long as he runs a better campaign than Jane Duker, he can win. So for this person to say this, because I was really curious, I texted him, what are your thoughts on this? So I think he is on the same page with the rest of us that Sam Page has got to go.
I've got a little adage for you. I think the Democrats had to worry more about whether Manavani was a Republican or not than we need to worry about whether he's a Democrat or not. Yeah. I think he ran in those primaries because that was the choice that was there. I just from listening to him and hearing him and seeing him do these other campaigns, I think in his heart he's a center-right guy. Do I think he's a William F. Buckley conservative? No. I think he's a transactional business-leaning Republican. That's where I think his heart is.
Can I say one thing? Amy, one of our listeners, Amy Mazzara, who we love, she's always on the live stream. She has a comment for both of you. Okay. She says, I think she's worried. She says he wouldn't say no to future lockdowns on Mike's show this morning. Now, that's something that I don't know if we asked him last night, I should say, when we had him on the show, but that seems like a real concern for Amy.
And I would say, and disclaimer, I don't work for his campaign. I met him for the very first time at this meeting on Monday. I think as a politician, you don't want to box yourself into a definite position on something. We could have a variant of Omicron that came out that if you looked at somebody, it would it will infect you. So I don't think you want to take that off the table that we won't ever have lockdowns. But I would reassure people that I would not do what Sam Page did, shutting down businesses and government and everything for a virus that wasn't as potent as it was before.
What if like hypothetically, see, that's the problem with these hypotheticals. Is I could give you a hypothetical that would terrify you. What if Ebola virus gets weaponized and aerosolized?
Yes.
Ebola virus has a 50% kill rate. I think we'd all go run into our homes and lock the doors voluntarily.
Exactly.
So, it's like, okay, if we had, I would like to ask Manavani the question, if we had the COVID-19 situation again, a very serious flu that largely goes after sick and elderly people, what would you do?
Yeah,
I have a
that's
feeling.
a better question.
Right. I think
Sorry, Mike. I'm not dogging you, Mike.
No. I think he would say, well, I would not lock down the entire economy, because I heard him say that in the last election. So, Amy, I would not be so concerned about, these types of hypotheticals. I would want to know his holistic body of work.
Yeah.
What do you want to do for the county? What do you want to do for the county different than Sam Page has done? And look, Sam Page, I watched the COVID stats. I think you all know I keep an eye on the Missouri dashboard. I don't think there's going to be any COVID to run on in 2 months. We are 55 days away, and the COVID bump that we had was very tiny, and it's already going down. So Sam Page is going to have to run on something else other than I'm Dr. Sam Page and I'm saving the planet. What are you going to do next, Bubba? Because, your last political mantra has that horse has left the barn.
Yeah. Hey, before we go to break, can I talk about a pet peeve of mine and give a PSA in a sense?
What did Katie and I do now?
What do we do?
Absolutely nothing. I'm a big user of LinkedIn. I don't know if you are, Katie or Tim. It's a very effective tool. It has allowed me to connect with people that that would never connect with me if I just sent them an email. But you're allowed to do the profile, and they see your connections. They're okay, whatever. I love LinkedIn. I think I've got 6,000 or 7,000 followers and connections on it. But the thing that I hate, and this is a PSA, please don't send me a LinkedIn connection request and then 3.5 seconds later send me a pitch trying to sell me something. Sell me something. It's like, and I told somebody that it's like, this is this over the weekend I said, this is a complete turn off. You connect with me, and the next thing I know, you're trying to sell me something. And he said, I'm going to disconnect you because of that, but I want you to know that's not really a good way to do it.
It's not a good look.
And he goes, oh, well, excuse me for using a networking platform to network. But is that networking when you're connecting with somebody just to sell with them? Or isn't networking supposedly networking and getting to know somebody and whatever?
I would think the first step with LinkedIn is to do like an introductory and like a getting to know you. You're never going to sell the pitch if you come in hard. It's a slow game.
And people get that all the time. And I get solicitations from people. I'll connect with them. Hey, I can help you out with leads for your business. Well, this first of all tells me that you really didn't research my business, because my business doesn't work on leads.
I get the same thing.
Oh,
does your sales team need more?
I get that through our website too all the time.
It's so annoying. But don't connect up with people and then the next second send them a sales pitch.
Agreed.
Totally agree.
It's annoying as hell.
That's not what LinkedIn is supposed to be for. It's for you to do a bunch of free advertising. All right.
I need to have a stinger that's like random thoughts from Chris Arps.
I just thought about that. It's like,
Deep
especially
thoughts.
when the dude got short with me. Well, excuse me for using a networking platform to network.
The old Saturday Night Live skit, Deep Thoughts with John Handy. Yes.
That's what we need to do.
Hey,
all right, good.
We're going to have some deep thoughts next with Mike Ferguson. Yeah, that guy who runs the morning show, our own resident pirate. He's still One Patch Mike, right?
He is.
All right, very good.
He is.
Mike's joining us next, and we're so glad that he's able to, and he's been back at the wheel of these last couple of weeks. And we'll talk to him next on our show about his interview with Mark Manavani and the
Been quickly cleared from the right lane northbound 55 at Rivas Barracks. You're on the break southbound 55 from the 44 split to Bates. Heavy pockets southbound 270 Page to Manchester. Still working that crash north and southbound Howdershell at Utz. Slow eastbound 270 from Lindbergh to New Florissant. Westbound 70 stacks up at 5th Street to Zumbell. Eastbound 70 jams 370 to Zumbell. And solid eastbound 70 crossing the Musial Veterans Bridge. Accident southbound 170 at Ladue, and long delays because of road work westbound 64 to Illinois 161. I'm Tori Lyons from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Is your portfolio prepared for the biggest risks facing investors today? Hi, it's Tim Jones. High inflation, low interest rates, and a rapidly changing economy may impact your investments. If you haven't made appropriate changes, your portfolio may not be positioned to address some of the biggest risks in today's economy. That means it's time to request your free portfolio review from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on News Talk STL 101.9. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create a portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free portfolio review, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
There's a guy named Chris Bank. They're threatening to take him to court by City Hall because he has too many sunflowers in his yard. The principle of the matter is if you want to plant flowers, it's your house.
Yeah. I would be so upset about this at like 2 o'clock in the morning. I would be planting sunflowers in their yards. Yeah. So that all of a sudden, they get their own crop of stuff. I'd be like, I don't know what happened.
Weekday mornings, 5:30 to 9 on News Talk STL.
Hi, this is David with Household Easy, and I buy houses cash. If you own a house and you want to sell it fast at a fair price, call me at 314-293-3000. I pay cash and close in as little as 3 days. I buy houses in any condition, any price range, and any location in St. Louis. I'm a private real estate investor who buys several houses a month, and I want to buy more. I buy inherited houses, divorce houses, behind in payment houses. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. Do you own a house that is trashed and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, because I love buying junk houses. I buy vacant houses, abandoned houses, condemned houses, and foreclosure houses. If you own a house and you want to sell it fast, call me at 314-293-3000. That's 314-293-3000. 314-293-3000.
Fox News commentary.
Brian Stelter has found a new gig, and it may be worse for our country than the last one. I'm Tommy Lahren. Find out next.
Hi, I'm Lisa Booth for Bishop Gold Group. Federal Reserve recent announcements is putting the country on course for a deep recession. That means wild swings in the markets and high inflation will continue to put your retirement savings at risk. Protect the money you worked so hard to save for retirement by investing in gold. Let Bishop Gold Group show you how tangible gold investments can help secure your future. Dial pound 250 from a mobile phone and say the keyword Bishop Gold or visit bishopgoldgroup.com.
This month, Brian Stelter's deceptively titled Reliable Sources show was canceled by CNN, and Brian also left the network to pursue other endeavors. The wait is over. This week, Harvard announced Mr. Stelter will be the fall 2022 Walter Shorenstein Media and Democracy Fellow. If you're wondering what that entails, it supposedly means he will be educating Ivy League students on threats to democracy and the state of the news media. Apparently, this means 60-minute lectures where he will preach to students about the importance of facts, journalism, and truth. You're kidding, right? Basically, he will be bringing CNN to campus. I would fear this kind of liberal indoctrination seminar would poison the minds of Harvard students, but let's be real. They attend Harvard, so the damage has already likely been done. Good luck on your next endeavor, Brian. At least this time you'll have a captive audience that can't shut off the TV or change the channel. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can listen to all of my hot takes at foxnewscommentary.com.
Whether at home or at work, you're mobile. So when you're mobile, stay mobile. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at newstalkstl.com. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Short term. So when you look at the lowering costs in particular for Americans, I think that's important when you think about how inflation has increased costs for Americans.
Wise words coming from our White House.
So instead of answering the question, she restated what's going on in present day America. Okay. So Chris, what's the Inflation Reduction Act going to do to reduce inflation? Seems like a pretty simple question. And it wasn't even from Peter Doocy.
Yeah. No. And what she did was a common thing that these press secretaries do. Of course, they deflect, but they know if they say something, answer something, they can say that is their answer, and they can say next, go to the next reporter without answering the question. And I think that's an example of that there.
Maybe Mike Ferguson knows what the Inflation Reduction Act's going to do.
Mike Ferguson.
I'm the world's heavyweight wrestling champion.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I'm Batman. Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up.
I want to be clear. I'm not going nuts.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
The Snake Plissken of News Talk STL Nation, Mike Ferguson.
Oh man,
Mike, whoever did that side by side with you, I never thought about
It's
that.
perfect.
But that's like this. You're like an action hero. I never knew.
Okay, two things that are funny about that. And if you haven't seen what Tim's talking about, just go to like our Facebook page at News Talk STL. And Katie, I think it's up on Twitter
Yes.
too, right?
Yep. Both
Yeah,
Facebook and Twitter.
I go to the Cardinals game last week or this past week. And, everybody knows I had to have an eye surgery and I've got an eye patch on right now. And I'm wearing this really cool, powder blue Cardinals jersey that just fit in. And I'm thinking, I bought this packet of eye patches and one of them is Cardinal red. So it matches the jersey, and I'm out there with my my friend Dave, and the Jumbotron is to my back because I'm in the bleachers out there by the bullpen, and apparently I either ended up on TV or on the Jumbotron with my red eye patch and the Cardinals jersey, and I didn't know it, and the stadium MC, guy by the name of Todd Thomas, I think his name is, he snapped a picture of it and put it on social media, and it kind of went everywhere. And then Gabe actually found that picture of Kurt Russell from Escape from LA. And yeah, it's kind of uncanny. And you know what's really funny? That movie, Escape from LA, a lot of that was filmed in St. Louis.
In New York.
A lot of it was, what's that?
Escape from New York.
No, is it Escape from New York? I thought Escape from LA.
No, Escape from New York.
Oh, okay. Well, it was actually filmed in St. Louis, but a lot of that movie was filmed in Union Station back before it was rebuilt.
Oh, that's amazing.
Well,
Mike,
where we all work
so
now.
cool.
Mike, I just want to say you've been handling this whole. We know you've gone through a lot. We probably know more than anybody than the listeners because we've been able to talk to you off air and stuff. You've been handling this marvelously, much better than I would have. You're a really good patient. I just want to say. So I don't know if Rachel's had it up to here with you yet or not, but you've been handling this really well.
Yeah, this really. I mean, I've got an angel for a wife. She had to, she's a university professor, and this my week of laying face down and not being able to move was when she was supposed to be on campus for the opening of the semester, and she had to rework everything for her first week of the semester. So yeah, she's been incredibly patient.
Hey, Mike, the Democrats, shifting gears to some political stuff now, the Democrats want to, of course, make this election everything but what they're directly responsible for with the nation's economy. Mike, is the economy so bad, and is there so many things going so wrong with the economy that this will be a Carvillian year where it's going to be about the economy, stupid, this fall? Or can they successfully divert voters' attention into all these other areas that really don't affect people in their daily lives?
I think that's that's the Hail Mary. The latter is the Hail Mary that the Democrats have to do. They know that by the way, I love the Carvillian term, by the way. I love that. If people focus on their station in life right now, gas is more expensive than it was a year and a half ago. Yes, it's less than it was a few months ago. Groceries, the ones you can find are very expensive. You can't find basic commodities. And so, yeah, people know whose fault this is. Republican, Democrat, Independent, they do. That's why I think you have all the hyperbole with the president trying to, talk about abortion as much as possible, why they're talking about guns in blue states. And I also think it's why they want people talking about Donald Trump, because Donald Trump, there is a lot of division over Donald Trump. Very few people are lukewarm to him. You either really like him or you really don't. There's some people who are lukewarm, but they want us talking about everything except the results of the Democrats in Congress and their legislation, and everything except what the president has brought, because they got pretty much what they wanted. They didn't get all of the Build Back Better plan. They just got pieces of it, but they put it together with part of the Green New Deal. And we're getting exactly what we were warned would happen if we passed these atrocious big government bills. So, yeah, I think that the more people and the more we focus on what's actually happening, the better chance we have of putting up a blockade after the November elections.
Mike, we had brand new St. Louis County Republican County Executive candidate Mark Mantovani on our show yesterday. You had him on this morning. Of course, want to get your thoughts on what do you think about his chances of winning, and what do you think of his performance this morning?
Yeah, I mean, I told everybody the day before that I was going to ask him about the mandates, lockdowns, and orders and things like that. And he kind of punted on the question. He was very critical of the way Sam Page did it, but he refused to say that there would never be a case for something like that, which I didn't really care for. But he clearly said that Sam Page should not have done that unilaterally, and it should go through a collaboration process. So basically, you got somebody here who disagrees with Sam Page just unilaterally trying to ruin people's lives through shutdowns. I liked his approach to say, listen, you can't get anything done in business, and you can't get anything done in government unless everybody's on the same page, or at least enough people to respect what's happening. And I thought he gave some really good answers there, and he understands that he's a fish out of water on the Republican ticket. And as far as his chances to win, it's an uphill climb. I mean, if I were a gambler, you don't bet on the incumbent losing, even one as unpopular as Sam Page. But what we're really going to have to hope is that there are enough Democrats who say, you know what, this guy's been a Democrat, his whole life, as far as we know. He may be on the Republican ticket, but, he's one of us. In addition to Republicans recognizing that you don't have Ted Cruz here. You've got a centrist, maybe slightly center-left Democrat who's fiscally more responsible. And you just hope there's enough of all of the different sectors to say, okay, we've got a much better option than Sam Page, but it's going to be tough. I mean, Tim, Chris, you guys we've all worked on campaigns, and doing something like this in 60 days or something like that, man, that is like Sisyphus pushing that rock up the hill. I mean, that is a Herculean task, but it comes down to, will enough people see the bigger picture? And that is, Sam Page must be voted out of office. And hopefully people show up to do that. And by the way, if that goes well, then that'll be good for the Republicans in that 3rd district in the county to try to hold the line and keep that seat as well with Dennis Hancock.
Yeah, Mike, you kind of hit the nail on the head. He's got to convince the Republican base to take a chance on him, right? And so he's got to develop a philosophy, a set of talking points to convey that message very succinctly and quickly in 55 some odd days, right? I mean, he's already had a big swath of Democrats take a chance on him twice. And even though he didn't get the majority of the Democratic vote, he doesn't need the majority of the Democratic vote in the general election, right? He just needs that same big chunk of Democrats that have been willing to vote for him before. He needs to retain those. But the hard work is going to be convincing Republicans to get excited about him, to take a chance on him, and to know what they're voting for when they vote for him, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we need to be excited about. I mean, and then I'm more of a conservatarian type of, not so much of a partisan, but Republicans need to be excited about an opportunity to legitimately vote Sam Page out of office. And I think some of that messaging is, listen, St. Louis County's population literally declined under Sam Page's tenure. There's now less than 1 million people in the county. We know they're going to St. Charles County. We know they're going to Jefferson County. We know some of them are going to Franklin County. And so, he needs to get up there and say, listen, we can argue about some of the other social stuff or not, or just say this isn't, that's what Congress and state legislatures do, and say, we've got a county in St. Louis County that is hostile to businesses. Why on earth would you bring a business? Why on earth would you bring jobs? Why on earth would you bring your family here to be close to a job when the jobs are going somewhere else? And we have to make the county government less hostile to businesses, less hostile to personal freedom, and make it more welcoming, because knowing that we're going to hold the line on taxes and the police are going to show up if you have a problem, and that things are just running on time. And I think if he talks that business sense, I don't even think he has to try to convince Republicans that he's suddenly a born again Republican. I think they just need to say, listen, I am fiscally conservative, which he seems to be to me with his business background. And so here's where I'm better than Sam Page. We've got a chance to improve this county and put the fringes on the defensive and kind of block them from doing any more damage.
Mike, I thought almost St. Louis was headed for another Michael Brown situation on Sunday night.
Yeah.
Undercover drug detectives shot and killed a 16-year-old youth who was running away from them. Apparently, he dropped the gun, and as he reached for it, the police shot him dead. The mother is claiming that the officers didn't announce themselves as police officers, that it was hard to read the police in white letters that they had on their vest. I think the only thing that has kept this from becoming a Michael Brown situation is that both officers that were involved in the situation, one was black and the other one was white. But I think if these would have been two white officers, I think we could be headed for some rough times, or we still could be. What's your thoughts?
We still could be. Yeah, I think we talked about this on, I think it was Tuesday, when more details came out at that Shell station in North City, because the 16-year-old tripped apparently when he was running away, and then he scrambled back to grab the gun, and that's, like you said, that's when it happened. And so that was it was an undercover, but they had the marked vest. They just weren't in uniform, so there's no body camera footage, and so that's going to leave a lot to interpretation. Family and some activists are already kind of bubbling up the tensions. The mayor didn't help anything with her statement. She didn't fully throw police under the bus, but I said on my show on Tuesday, she's loosening up her arms and shoulders and being ready to. She clearly is not going to be there to defend the police on this. I know it sounds like a no pun intended cop out to say this, but we need to find out what all the facts are, if possible. I just feel like the tensions are bubbling, and this still could go really badly regardless of what the facts are. So hopefully cooler heads will prevail long enough for us to find out what the facts are. But let's be honest, guys, facts aren't going to matter to some of the angry fringe activists out there. So let's just hope they don't have as much influence as they used to.
Mike, you and the gang will be back right behind this microphone at 5:35 out of the gates tomorrow morning. Who are you and Gabe and Ken planning to speak with, and what about?
Well, we've got Susie Moore filling in for Gabe this week. Gabe is out on secret.
Right. Yes.
He's on secret assignment. He is sciencing rockets all week at his other job. And so I'm taking a very unique look at the Mark Mantovani and Sam Page race, in that Jane Duker is going to be on the show to give us her perspective from that Democratic perspective. And I want to get her assessment on that as well. So I think that's going to be kind of one of the more interesting aspects of the show tomorrow.
The Duke.
That's right.
Fantastic. Well, we'll be listening. We'll be checking it out. Mike, thanks so much for all the time this afternoon, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Absolutely. And just remember, guys, I'm keeping my eye on you.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. At AVP Radio Show, on Twitter. Mike Ferguson in the morning. Whew. All right, Chris, we are rapidly rolling through this hour. Next up is Chris's Corner on the impending Railroad Crisis.
Yes, I am writing it or taking notes on it as we speak. So I will be finishing it up during the break. You can watch me do it on the webcam, right, guys?
Absolutely. Rumble.com, Facebook.com, and the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on YouTube.
How exciting is that? Watching me write. Wow, that's intriguing. Good radio there, isn't it?
Our own channel. Very good indeed. Katie helped us get set up again. Ha! All right, let's get to a break so we can get to Chris's Corner on the Railroad Crisis. This is something you're going to want to tune in for because you're going to need to know about what's possibly coming or not. We'll see when we come back at 1019-94.1 News.
With a podcast for your business from Epic STL Podcasts. Log on to newstalkstl.com and click on the Epic STL Podcast button to learn more.
Are you tired of hard chlorinated water drying your skin out, tasting bad, and ruining your fixtures? Jones Air and Water Treatment has a solution to this pollution. Our Hydratech H2O leaves you with great tasting, soft water at all fixtures in your home with one unit. Call Jones Air and Water at 636-899-1040 or visit us on the web at joneswater.com. You can be a filter or buy a filter. Jones Air and Water, 636-899-1040 or joneswater.com on the web. Call us now.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Thursday at 9:41, we will talk to RNC Director of Strategic Communications, Gates McGavick, and we'll see exactly what the strategy is.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
An uncertain economic climate, there are strategies to ease the pain. It just takes some planning and creativity.
This morning, stubbornly high prices are weighing on Americans.
It's not just food, it's everything.
According to the newest government data, overall consumer prices increased at a faster pace than anticipated, up 8.3% compared to last year.
Yeah, Chris, and liberals and Democrats who are cheering 8.3% versus 8.5% in July. I don't think that's really winning messaging for the fall.
It's not a winning message. And as we talked about at the beginning of the show, there is a looming railroad strike that could make the inflation that we are witnessing right now even worse, putting a crimp in the supply lines that are already crippled. And let's talk a little bit more about this on Chris's Corner.
Chris.
The whole thing is a joke.
Good God, we got to do something here, people.
It's not personal. It's strictly business. My favorite black leader of all time is Frederick Douglass, who asked after emancipation, well, we just freed the blacks, now what are we going to do with them? And his answer was, leave us alone.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
Over the last 2 years since COVID, because businesses were shut down and overseas shipping traffic was stuck in these ports, the stores in the United States have had a tremendous lack of products on their shelves. The supply chain is broken, as they say. We are slowly getting it back together, but if you go to our stores, there's still a shortage of many products, and many of those products are higher than expected because of supply and demand issues. Well, that supply and demand issue could get even worse if the nation's railroad workers go on strike. One of those unions voted today to go on strike, but in order for it to be a full-fledged strike, there are 3 or 4 other unions that are involved with this that they have to vote as well to authorize a strike. One of the other unions has pushed back a vote until September 29th. But this is the absolute worst time for anything like this to happen. As I said, our supply chain is already bottlenecked. So many goods and packages flow through our highways to get to our stores. You know, I've said many times here, I've mentioned it on my Labor Day Chris's Corner, that I am not a huge fan of organized labor. I at one time was a local 688 member and later went into supervision at UPS and became a supervisor. And it really opened my eyes to the management union dynamic. There were silly work rules, I felt, that endangered our core business, which was delivering packages, and all for silly work rules. Work rules have these silly work rules are potentially going to bottle up our supply routes. but there also could bottle up our services and packages because of that. This is something that could possibly even deepen the already recession that we have. You know, when I was working at UPS, I would probably say 40 to 50% at that time of the packages, they came through railroad. Then they were loaded onto trucks and taken to the various hubs around the country. So not only will this railroad strike, will we see maybe packages or not packages, but groceries and other items not on our shelves, but also that package that you order from Amazon, from UPS, may be late in arriving because that package is on a train. You know, unions, I think, were very useful at one time, but I think that they have outlived their usefulness. I think that is the reason why so many unions, there are no unions basically in the South, because the companies there determine if they treat the workers well and give them great benefits, there's no reason for a union. If you remember 2008, when the economy crashed, the real estate market crashed, part of the reason why the 3 auto companies went out of business and had to be bailed out by the government is because of the legacy costs that those businesses had that was foisted on them by the unions. Now, I won't blame the unions for 100%. A lot of these companies at that time kicked the can down the road and said that we'll deal with these costs later. But the time to pay that cost came on 2008 when the economy crashed, and we saw these companies basically go out of business. Some of these legacy costs that these car companies had, where if you could retire at 55 and you would have full health care benefits for the rest of your life, 90% of your salary for the rest of your life, there's no way that companies could sustain that. And that's why Chrysler, Ford, and GM went out of business because of that. As I said, unions had their place at one time, but as you see with this railroad strike, this is the absolute worst time to be doing this strike while the nation is already have bottlenecks. And the things that the railroad unions are striking for is they want a 24% increase in pay. Oof. And they want it easier for them to go to medical appointments. Those are some of the demands that they are giving in order to stifle our economy. These union members, these union folks, look, I know you work hard. I know you should get everything that you are entitled to under your contract. But think of the American people. Think of our economy. Think how fragile it is right now. And think about what you're doing. Do the right thing. And that is Chris's Corner.
You know, Chris, if modern day unions actually worked for the worker, I'd have a very different opinion of them.
I agree.
They have gotten so politically supercharged and so worried about how well the bosses are doing that they've forgotten about the rank and file worker, I think, long ago. They forgot their original purpose and intent.
Yeah, I could go on for the next hour, just my experiences with unions and how they turned me off. Quick story. We had as a supervisor, you could not lift or move a package unless there was a union person watching you move that package. And if I went and was trying to break up a bottleneck or something because little Johnny's Christmas present was getting destroyed, if I moved that package, the highest union paid worker on that work site, would get paid the amount of time that I worked.
Wow. That's why, as you referenced, the modern day worker in the South has rejected most of the unionization efforts there.
Time and time and time again.
They're well informed. They look at what has happened before them. They look to the North and see the failures there of union leadership. And they say, no, thanks. We're doing just fine. Thank you very much. Yeah. Excellent corner. Indeed. Worker freedom is what everyone should have. It's the way of the future. Wow. 4:00 hour, pretty much in the can. What do we got coming up 5 o'clock hour? Speaker stump speech at 5:07. Latricia Weber, chairwoman of the National Coalition for Public School Options, at 5:25.
And speaking of workers, I saw an interesting statistic that 30% of grocery store sales were done by self-serve scanners.
That's also the wave of the future.
Yikes.
30%.
Wow.
Been to a McDonald's lately?
Wow.
Nothing but kiosks. Everywhere you look. Grocery stores, fast food. That's what's happening. As long as the machines don't take over. That's what I'm worried about.
Same.
We'll talk about all that and more when we come back on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Lots ahead in the 5 o'clock hour, 101.9, 94.1 News Talk, STL.
You're listening to News Talk STL.
If you are on Medicare, you need to listen to this message. Open enrollment for all Medicare participants starts October 15th. This is a very critical time of the year for you to make needed changes to your plan.
This is Mike Butts with MB Health Insurance Agency. Regardless if you are new or renewing your health insurance, the process can be confusing and very time-consuming. MB Health is local here in St. Louis, and we will handle your enrollment quickly, properly, and effectively. Find us on the web at mbhealth.com.
MB Health can also help small businesses find the perfect medical coverage for their employees. That's mbhealth.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
In times of economic uncertainty and chaos, your money means nothing. You may not even be able to get it from your bank or ATM. And the money you do have in the stock market will go down and down. What you can bank on is gold and silver. Gold and silver have been a reliable and trusted form of currency for thousands of years. Gold and silver have never been worth zero, and typically gold holds its value during economic turmoil. Call the Gold Hotline now and learn how to protect your money and your assets with gold and silver. And learn how to set up a new IRA or roll over your current one into a gold-backed IRA. Protect your money from the next market crash with gold and silver. Call now for your free gold guide.
800-281-4224. 800-281-4224. 800-281-4224. That's 800-281-4224.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. Freight railroads have already begun curtailing hazardous materials transportation ahead of a threatened strike this coming Friday. Correspondent Josh Funk reports a strike could cause huge economic issues.
Business groups say that a railroad strike could worsen inflation, lead to price increases, and potentially force a lot of businesses to shut down and maybe even lay off workers if they can't get the materials they need from railroads. Refineries are saying this could affect gas prices if they can't get the shipments of oil and ethanol that they use to make gasoline. A lot of that moves across rails.
About 4,900 members of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers District 19 voted to reject the tentative agreement negotiated by IAM leadership with the railroads. But the IAM agreed to delay any strike by its members until September 29th to allow more time for negotiations and to allow other unions to vote. An Israeli army officer and 2 Palestinian militants have been killed in an exchange of gunfire in the West Bank.
The gunfight reportedly broke out after 2 Palestinians approached Israel's West Bank separation barrier near the city of Jenin. The army fired flares and warning shots, and according to its account, soldiers surrounded the 2 men who started shooting, and troops returned fire. The officer killed was a major in the IDF, while one of the 2 Palestinian militants killed was a member of the official Palestinian Authority security forces. It marks a further escalation in the occupied West Bank, where the Israeli military has been carrying out nightly search and arrest raids and detaining hundreds of Palestinians in recent months.
That is BBC correspondent Tom Bateman reporting from Jerusalem. A somewhat recovery of Wall Street today as the Dow was up by 30 points. The Nasdaq rose 86, with the S&P 500 advancing 13. More at townhall.com.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month. a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance. For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-940-6161. That's 1-800-940-6161. Or go to SelectQuote.com. That's 1-800-940-6161. SelectQuote. We shop, you save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by InvisibleFence.com. Invisible Fence brand's mission is to keep pets happy and safe. Their containment systems are the most advanced on the market, giving your pet freedom and you confidence in their safety. For a limited time, get $150 off your system. Schedule your consultation at InvisibleFence.com. Traffic jams up on eastbound 270 past McDonald to New Florissant, southbound Lucas and Hunt, south of Chambers, an accident at Berwyn Drive, slow westbound 70, Highway 79 to Bryan Road, eastbound 70 lines up between Florissant and the Illinois Bank of the Museo Veterans Bridge, that's road work. Heavy eastbound 64 Clayton Morrison to Big Bend, eastbound 64 jams crossing the Poplar Street Bridge, southbound 170 slow Delmar 264, and construction stacks up westbound 64 at Illinois 161. I'm Tori Lyons from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton with your first alert forecast. Not quite as cool tonight, but still a mild night. Low down to 61, lots of 50s in the outlying areas. Clear skies and a high of 87 degrees. It'll be another warm afternoon, but not too humid. Another nice day, really. But we're in the warming trend that just gets a little warmer each day we go. So Friday's high 89, partly cloudy skies. Will hit 90s by the weekend. That's the latest first alert forecast. I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Like any good conservative, we have our principles and our values.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world,
I don't even know how conservatives can even take their head out of the ground long enough to complain about anything.
They're trying to call us conservatives Nazis.
I think they ought to be ashamed.
It's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
All we want is freedom and liberties and less government.
I'm not a Democrat or Republican. I'm an American.
Welcome home.
Because everyone gets a voice.
This is News Talk STL.
News and information.
Welcome home. Columbo and Katie.
Equality means equality. It means you don't discriminate against anybody.
And what are we teaching the next generation? The entire American struggle, it wasn't pretty. It was our history is very ugly. But we have the opportunity to show our younger generation, see how ugly this was? Do you see brother fighting against brother to make things right? Because that's how much we care.
Tony Columbo, Katie Fitzpatrick. Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL. If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
The far left wants to destroy conservative values in America.
This is News Talk STL. Welcome home. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
For years, so many of us have been trying to fix this problem. But for years, Big Pharma blocked Medicare from negotiating lower drug prices.
All right, I do not want to be a party crasher, but we interrupt this celebration for a hard, cold dose of reality. Stocks tanking because inflation is accelerating. The very inflation that the president said he's made great progress addressing, heralding his Inflation Reduction Act as the boon for the economy that we didn't see in a key number out earlier today.
Neil Cavuto there saying, we interrupt this malarkey to bring you a hard dose of reality. That was yesterday as the market was tanking 12 to 1,300 points as Joe Biden was doing a victory lap. And did you see him, Chris? He was he had put his suit coat down, but then he started stepping on it and stumbling all over it.
He did.
I heard that. I saw a story or something about that. Or no, I was listening to a clip and he was like, "Oh, I'm stepping on my coat."
He said, here I go stepping on my coat. I'm so glad my mother isn't alive to see this.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's right.
huh? Why was your coat on the ground? What is your coat doing?
Do the flip test on this guy. If this was a Republican president right now, stumbling and bumbling around, shaking the hands of people who aren't there, not being able to put sentences together, giving us clips that are completely unedited where we play Joe Biden and we literally cannot understand what he's saying. Vic and Ken with the whoosh. And we have one, Katie, that you play all the time.
Yes.
I mean, if that was a Republican, come on. They would just be pilloried 7 days from Sunday, every single day.
It would literally, if this was a Republican president, the story every night on the cable news and on the network television sets would be the mental competency of the president of the United States. And there would be constant stories about the 25th Amendment. Should the cabinet members get together and remove him from office? Should the president of the United States take a cognitive test? We'd be seeing clip after clip of him shaking hands with invisible people, with him reading the teleprompter parts that he's not supposed to. It would be a constant drumbeat night after night after night.
And we're not pointing it out. I don't think any of us are. Well, maybe some days we are to be mean, but we're mainly not pointing this out to be mean. We're pointing this out to say, what are we doing? Because Joe Biden, who represents all of us, is having to deal with diabolical, despotic dictators around the globe who don't seem to have these issues. They may be horribly cruel, just this side of insane people, but they also seem to be extremely concerted in their efforts. Vladimir Putin, Kim Jong-un, Chairman Xi of the Communist Party of China. All of these people that we have to tangle with, they seem to have all of their faculties intact. Like I said, some of them are downright cruel and evil and horrible people, but Joe Biden, he just looks like a little kid being put up against a sumo wrestler.
Yeah, and not only does the president is having obvious mental difficulties on the public stage, their Pennsylvania Senate candidate, John Fetterman, is having cognitive issues after suffering a stroke a couple of months ago. We played the clip yesterday or the day before, I think, where he came out and announced himself as John Fetterwoman instead of his name, John Fetterman. We've heard him give speeches where he can't put a sentence together where it sounds coherent. They've said that he's going to debate on October 25th, but I doubt that very seriously. So the Democrats have some issues with that. I don't know how you portray that without looking cruel from a political standpoint, but you have a president of the United States that's not all there mentally, it seems, and you have a candidate for U.S. Senate has not gained all of his mental faculties back.
Absolutely. Could not agree more. Hey, shout out to my dad who's listening to the show. He said, my dad said, Walmart says when we get the self-checkout lanes down pat, we can then start unloading their trucks.
There we go. There we go.
Dr. Jones weighing in with some comedy this afternoon.
Yeah, give me the flat screen truck.
Exactly. I like that. Just back it up. Yeah. Hey, shout out to a bunch of our listeners who are, I did some checking in the break to see kind of where we were on things. And on Rumble, we are well over 15,000 subscribers. That's insane.
It's awesome.
It is awesome as well. On Facebook, we are closing in on 3,900 followers on Facebook, over 1,200 followers on Twitter. We got a bunch of people chattering at us today in the chat boxes on Facebook and Twitter specifically. And go to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on YouTube, where I see Beetle Baby is on there. And Chris, I think I mentioned, it may have been during a break, that listener, I think it was Laura, chimed in and was referencing our discussion on Mark Mantovani. And she said, look, and you can tell from Laura's Twitter feed, she's a hardcore conservative. And she said, look, it is what it is. We need to get Sam Page out. I'm supporting Mark Mantovani.
I like that. I love it.
Yeah.
I love political pragmatism.
If we had another choice, I'd say, sure, let's choose it. But we are in, this is going to be, and look, we're all acting like, oh, if we all just get behind Mark Mantovani, he'll win. This is a huge uphill climb in a Democrat-leaning county. Everything, all the planets are going to have to line up. Everybody's going to have to row the boat really hard. But it can be done. I believe it could be done because it's almost been done before.
I think he's got a shot. Sam Page has a lot of baggage. He's got a lot of Achilles heels that Mantovani can attack. And as we've been saying, if he can bring together the disaffected Democrats, the moderates, and especially those disaffected Democrats that are African Americans, he's got a real chance.
It really does. All right. Whoa. National headlines. We talked about, Chris brought up the railroad story. I don't know if we touched on this yesterday. You know, we talked about some of the broad numbers on inflation. Grocery store prices, the highest in 43 years. We're getting close to Chris and I's lifetime here, and we're kind of old.
That's crazy.
You know, I mean, that's nuts.
43 years, my gosh.
What's that, 1979?
Yeah. Yes.
Man.
Yes. Holy Toledo.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. I'm going to shift gears a little bit and do the speaker's stump speech today on fiddling while Rome burned.
Listen to me, listen to me.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
See, that's another reason we need communism.
It's time for the Speaker's Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
So, excuse me. I'm okay. I'm good. Words. I had to look this up because we all know the common expression, fiddling while Rome burned. And I knew it had some basis in ancient history, in reality, of what some emperor did. Well, it was the Emperor Nero, and the legend is that in July of 64 AD, a great fire ravaged Rome for 6 days. Climate change? No, probably not. Destroying 70% of the city and leaving half of its population homeless. Can you imagine? What devastation. According to a well-known expression, Rome's emperor at the time, the decadent and unpopular Nero, fiddled while Rome burned. The expression has a double meaning. Not only did Nero sit around and play music while his people suffered, but he was an ineffectual leader in a time of crisis. Wow. Could you think of a better application to what's going on in Washington, D.C., courtesy of one Joe Biden, hashtag worst president ever, and dysfunctional D.C. Democrats. Now, to be fair, and I feel that Chris and Katie and I often are. Chris and I often play devil's advocate with each other, and sometimes we come back to you a day or two later and we argue with ourselves how we may have been wrong about something. I feel that we do a pretty good job of calling out, yes, lunatic leftists and Democrats, but also Republicans when they deserve it. We try to give you, because of our knowledge and our contacts and just being old, we know a lot of the folks of which we speak about and kind of what maybe the behind the scenes motives are. So I'm going to talk about a little two-parter, fiddling while Rome burned. Definitely Washington, D.C., but also potentially Jefferson City if they don't get their act together on this special session. First, Washington, D.C. Boy, did we ever get a better picture of, use your favorite historical cliche. I've been mentioning often, it was so French Revolutionary-esque, Marie Antoinette-esque, let them eat cake moment. Joe Biden taking a bizarre victory lap, stomping all over his suit coat with his goofy aviator glasses on, kind of mumbling and bumbling around, yelling and screaming into the microphone that he does. I always feel that he starts yelling in that microphone when he's not exactly sure that he should be saying what he's saying. And if he says it loud enough, then everybody will believe him and he'll believe himself. At the very moment, I mean, and we weren't just imagining this, all of the networks started cutting away from the president's speech, which they rarely do, especially when he's reaching a crescendo. I mean, he was really laying it on thick. And because of the fact that the Dow Jones stock market index was going from 1,100 down to 1,200 down to 1,300 down, people on Fox and Fox Business, and yes, also NBC and CNBC and MSNBC, they all cut away and they were like, yeah, the economy may not be so good, Mr. President. Things aren't such great in paradise. Against the backdrop of that, we've got all the other crises that we've been talking about. I'm not going to give you the whole laundry list. You know what they are: the border, grocery store, gas prices, so on and so forth. And then Chris just told you about another brand new one. Folks, the supply chain crises that we've been dealing with up to this point could look like kindergarten if the nation's railroads literally come to a halt. I can tell you, living in the little railroad town of Eureka I live in, where the trains go back and forth all day long and we almost kind of don't hear it anymore because it's white noise, that's a lot of goods and services that move via rail. We better hope that they do something, this inept Biden administration, to divert this, to put it off, to forestall it. If they don't, they may get just epically blown out this fall because people are going to blame them, probably rightly so, for that as well. But they don't seem to know what to do. They don't seem to know how even to talk about it at the press podium every single day, which seems to be nothing more than Corinne Jean-Pierre's latest propaganda that somebody else wrote for her and put in her little binder. So lots of fiddling while Rome is burning up in Washington, D.C. In Jefferson City, the late breaking news out of that is they were supposed to go in and start a special session today on tax cuts. Well, they've adjourned and they've decided to come back and try again next week. I heard from a couple sources from inside the Senate Majority Caucus that the initial proposals proposed by some of the more liberal-leaning Republicans, the Dave Schatz, Caleb Rowden Republicans, are really not much tax cuts at all. It's kind of tax cut window dressing. You know, voters are too smart, guys. Didn't you just get a huge lesson in this August primary where most of the more conservative-leaning candidates were elected? Heck, in Southwest Missouri, something happened that I don't think has happened in modern history. An incumbent state senator was voted out of office in a primary. Young lady by the name of Jill Carter, who's a very knowledgeable activist, took out Bill White. That was the shock heard around the Missouri Republican world. So it's a big lesson to everybody in Jeff City. You all shouldn't be fiddling while Rome's burning either. Missourians are Americans, which means we're all hurting too here in the heartland. Our state coffers, it's almost insane. Our state budget is ballooned up to nearly $47 billion. If you talk to the House budget chairman in the House, Cody Smith, he'll tell you they don't even know how to spend all the money. And we're quibbling about whether we're really going to give Missourians a tax cut or if we're going to play a bunch of reindeer games. This is the same crew, remember, that barely passed a redistricting map, an electoral integrity bill, and that was about it. Pretty much other than that, a failure of a session. So in a special session, everybody's watching, and they're watching for you to do one thing. The one thing that Reagan and Trump and all other great Republican leaders have done, and that's cut your taxes and give more of your money back to you. Couldn't happen at a better time when so many people are needing so much more. And that's the Speaker Stump Speech for today, September 14th, 2022.
I like fiddling while Rome is burning. That's great.
Or if you want to ebonicize it, fiddling.
Fiddling.
Fiddling
while Rome is burning.
Say fiddling.
And apostrophe.
Yeah, exactly. You know, one aspect too, Tim, quickly about the railroad strike that people aren't talking about. A lot of folks are saying, oh, we can just move this stuff on trucks. Well, remember, we have a 78,000 trucker shortage right now.
Yeah.
So there's no trucks to put this railroad packages on. So
you're right. I don't think you have enough trucks to replace the train box cars, Chris. It's an excellent point. And the drivers, as you point out.
No drivers.
No drivers. We can't even get school bus drivers.
Have you listened to our radio station recently? The ad, the national, like when Dan Bongino is running the national ads for truck drivers, it's almost every break.
Mm-hmm.
You can get paid upwards of near six figures as a starting truck driver.
So crazy.
It is nuts indeed. All right, we got to take a break and prepare for Latricia Weber, who's going to join us next. She's the chairwoman of the National Coalition for Public School Options. One good thing the legislature did last year was expand
STL Weather Center.
I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton with your first alert forecast. Not quite as cool tonight, but still a mild night. Low down to 61, lots of 50s in the outlying areas. Clear skies and a high of 87 degrees. It'll be another warm afternoon, but not too humid. Another nice day, really. But we're in the warming trend that just gets a little warmer each day we go. So Friday's high 89, partly cloudy skies. We'll hit 90s by the weekend. That's the latest first alert forecast. I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by Dell Technologies. Dell Technologies semi-annual sale has arrived, and it's time to save big on PCs with Windows 11 Pro. Plus, get great deals on top accessories, including docks, monitors, and more. Dell Technologies recommends Windows 11 Pro for business. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL. An accident eastbound 64 at Mason, taking out the two right lanes, and another accident just cleared from the right lane eastbound 64 west of McKnight. Southbound 170 backs up between Delmar and 64. Accident westbound 4064 at 364. Heavy westbound 70 between Highway 79 and Route K. Your bumper to bumper eastbound 70 Adelaide to the Illinois Bank of the Museo Veterans Bridge, and major construction delays on westbound 64 at Illinois 161. I'm Tori Lyons from the News Talk STL Traffic
Subscribe and watch your favorite News Talk STL shows. Mike Ferguson in the morning, The Vic Porcelli Show, Columbo and Katie, Jones and Arps. Webcam streaming on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble. Subscribe and watch News Talk STL. The Vic Porcelli Show.
Jeffrey Toobin is leaving CNN. He's finally retiring after the big Zoom meeting thing. But I didn't realize, Ken, that he was in the Karate Kid. I didn't realize that.
Oh, Jeffrey Toobin?
Yeah.
What did he do?
Wax on.
Wax off.
That's right.
He said it. You got me.
Gotcha. And he said it. I didn't say it. So that's great. So you're in trouble, not me.
Vic Porcelli, weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Hey folks, Tim Jones here for The Range, therangestl.com. The Range has an awesome event coming up this Saturday. It's their 7th annual. Can't believe they've been in that new building for 7 years in the heart of St. Louis County in Baldwin on Manchester Road, right next to the Baldwin Police Department for 7 years. Their 7th annual Customer Appreciation Day. Yeah, all day long. They've got all kinds of cool stuff, all kinds of giveaways, all kinds of food, prizes, fun. I'm going to be there from around 12:30 to 2 p.m. or so. So come by and see me early afternoon. Free lanes, free shooting lanes all day. They're doing a food drive, so bring canned goods. Forces for Food, that benefits active and retired military personnel. All kinds of cool free classes, everything from some first responder type of stuff to advanced first aid stuff to like how to take apart and rebuild certain firearms, simulator shoot off. They're going to have a dunk tank. No, I'm not getting in it. Cotton candy machine, balloon, lots of stuff for the kids. Bring the kids. Lots of cool swag. Let me tell you, the firearms industry, they got some of the best swag around and all kinds of special sale items. The Range has got this all day long at their location in St. Louis County, right on Manchester Road in Baldwin. The Range is a great place for everyone who has, from people who have never touched a firearm in their lives to people who are extremely proficient. Come and check them out. Check me out. Check everybody out this Saturday. All details at therangestl.com. That's therangestl.com.
Blue Oyster Cult. Live in concert. One of the most iconic bands in classic rock. Blue Oyster Cult with special guests Mark Farner's American Band and Head East. This Friday, 7 p.m., the Family Arena. Tickets on sale now at the Carroll House box office at the Family Arena or at Ticketmaster.
Get ready, because here they come.
1, 2, 3, 4!
It's Beatlemania all over again with the Fab Four, the ultimate tribute to the Beatles. Entertainment Tonight says seeing the Fab Four is just like seeing the Beatles. The Fab Four takes you through the 60s with the music that changed our lives. It's a show you won't want to miss.
Saturday, October 1st at the Family Arena. Tickets on sale now at the Carroll House box office located at the Family Arena or at Ticketmaster.
Hi, I'm Jen Wallner.
And I'm Rodney Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Rodney, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission rate?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
When's the best time to sell your home?
Right now. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
I'll tell you what, that broken clock is being, I guess, is fixed, Chris, because it's been right more than twice a day these days.
Hey, who knows? Who knows? Maybe there's hope.
Maybe hope springs eternal. You know, that issue right there is one of the many issues as to why parents started speaking out during the pandemic. They saw what was going on their screens at their homes with the virtual schooling that schools were trying to attempt, the issues of masking, of vaxxing, and all that. And a lot of other issues that came up. It was kind of like the veil was pulled back from a lot of parents' eyes, and why they started checking out options for school choice. Let's bring in our next guest, who we can talk with about that and lots more. Latricia Weber, chairwoman of the National Coalition for Public School Options. Latricia, welcome to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
Hi, Tim and Chris.
How are you?
Thanks for good. How are you?
Excellent.
It's great to have you, Latricia. Would you first, before we get into some of the subject matter that I mentioned that Chris and I will dig a little deeper into, would you explain to our audience what is the National Coalition for Public School Options and what do you all do?
The National Coalition for Public School Options is a national group of parents, families, volunteers. We work to give all families a voice in school options from all backgrounds, all options. We try to give families a seat at the table when it comes to choosing what their children's education is going to look like.
Latricia, virtual education really came to the fore during the pandemic. That was the option a lot of school districts around the nation chose, was to have a virtual education. That issue really has been in the news lately when the D.C. mayor said that children had to be vaccinated in order to come to school, and there would not be virtual education available for those children. And that's been a mini controversy. Tell us a little bit about virtual education and this new the Missouri law and how that's changed on virtual education.
Yes, I have been a virtual school parent since before it was cool, since before the pandemic. So we started in kindergarten with our children. So I have a lot of experience in this. What we saw as a nation during the pandemic was not what those of us that have been in it for a long time would call the typical virtual schooling experience. We a lot of times like to call it emergency learning. We saw in Indiana, across the gamut, we saw schools that were doing everything from, a packet of worksheets and no interaction with their teachers for months on end to even, more than that. Some recovered quickly, some didn't. Some schools did a great job, and I commend those. But most brick and mortar schools, we saw a wide range, and in that process, so many parents were able to see the curtain pulled back. They were able to see that this is not really the environment that they want their children to be educated in. So although some of us knew about this a long time ago and have been using it with great success for many years, there is a new awareness that parents just weren't happy with how things are going. And a lot of parents are feeling more empowerment to make changes, to make an educational experience that's much more suited to their children.
Speaking to Latricia Weber of the National Coalition for Public School Options. Latricia, Missouri parents need to know that the laws have changed very recently in the state of Missouri over the last few years to provide some more options for parents who are frustrated with the school system which they are, where they're relegated to simply because of the zip code they happen to live and feel like they have nowhere else to turn. Now they do have options, don't they? Would you explain what has changed and where parents can look to get more information on that we're not able to get out completely in this interview today?
Missouri has very fortunately opened enrollment for these virtual schools. This is a great step forward in the parent empowerment movement. So families have options now that they were limited in before. And right now is the best time to take advantage of that. With this open enrollment, you can do a transition. It's actually very easy to transition to a virtual school as far as the enrollment process goes. And I'll be the first one to say, if your public school, brick and mortar school is working for you, that's great. Congratulations. But if you don't feel that this is working for your family or your individual students, this is the time to make the change and go ahead and enroll in one of these virtual schools. There are a lot of resources. In fact, you guys have a great website, mocap, mocap.mo.gov. It explains a lot of this. And if you go to their frequently asked questions section, there's a great list of a lot of these virtual schools with links to their school sites, websites that gives a lot of information on each of the individual schools. So you can research and figure out what's going to be the best fit for your family and your students and make the decision from there.
Speaking with Latricia Weber, chairwoman of the National Coalition for Public School Options. Latricia, why would a family choose a virtual learning option?
I see families from all over the spectrum of choice schools. We were an unusual example. Our kids didn't have, we started in kindergarten, we didn't have any reason other than that we just wanted a more enriching, more engaging educational environment for our children. But I see everything from, we all hear the typical stories, the bullying. My children has an IEP and they need more assistance. I want more control over what my child's learning, or I want to be able to be engaged in the conversation with my student, my children, on what they're learning. That's one of the big advantages that I found was that when my children were learning material, I had direct access to everything that they're learning. And I can immerse it into the daily life. When my children were learning how to count change, we were practicing at the grocery store and I knew exactly how the teachers were teaching it and I could reinforce it in daily life. When we went to vote, we took the kids with us. When they were learning about voting and government processes, they're involved in it in real life. I can immerse it into their daily life.
Latricia, what about the fact that, could you explain the difference between, some parents may feel that, well, geez, we just did the virtual learning thing and it didn't work so well and it wasn't so hot. There's a big difference between what many of the school districts were trying to cobble together and kind of rig over the last couple of years and what some really fine organizations and private sector companies have been doing professionally for several decades, right?
Yes, definitely. During the pandemic, what people were seeing, when you build it from the ground up to be virtual, it tends to be a lot more successful. We had no hiccups, no bumps. When it came time to transfer to virtual, it was business as usual. My youngest was in a hybrid at the time, which is 2 days there at the building, 3 days at home. The only difference was we didn't go for the 2 days. My oldest was already in 100% virtual. Nothing changed for us. But one of the advantages that we see as far as the curriculum and the presentation of the curriculum in our virtual school, the curriculum is created by a company that works in this space. They know what they're doing with it. It's not a duck and weave approach to the disaster that was going on. It was built that way from the start. And so it actually utilizes a lot of tools that cater to all different styles of learning. whether your child is an auditory learner, a visual learner, a hands-on learner, all of those things are combined into their curriculum. So a lot of people have this misconception that virtual is just sitting there staring at a computer, learning in a very stagnant approach. That's not true. We actually get, our kids get excited at the beginning of the year. We get this huge box of all these supplies for all the science experiments and all the books, and they will use things in the curriculum to enhance those tools to teach. It's not just staring at a computer screen all day.
And you may have answered a little bit of it, but my next question is, what does a virtual classroom look like? Is there a set aside room in the house that is just the classroom, or is it done at the kitchen table every day?
Different families approach it differently. Different kids need it presented differently. Our family has a little more relaxed. We've got options to do the kitchen table, the desk, in their room. I have 2 kids at very different ages, so it looks different for each of them. It tends to be in the younger ages, you need a little bit more structure. You need them at the desk or right near you. As they get older, they get a lot more independent, and they don't need as much hand-holding to do the process. So it can be a little bit more adaptable. But also with this option, we've done schoolwork from the library. We've done it from a Starbucks. You're not limited to geographical issues unless, of course, that's what your student needs. But it can be very adaptable for many families. And, some children don't do well with sitting multiple hours a day. You can do this outside. You can do this standing up. It's not as rigid as far as when your child needs something else other than just the conventional sitting at a desk. You can adapt it for however it's needed for your student.
Speaking to Latricia Weber of the National Coalition for Public School Options. Latricia, where can our listeners obtain more information about this particular program that's available now here in the state of Missouri? Where should they go to? What resources are out there?
Right. You're going to hear about a lot of schools in Missouri, like Missouri Virtual Academy, Missouri Connections Academy, Missouri Digital Academy. These are some of the more prominent ones. But again, the website I mentioned earlier, the mocap.mo.gov, that's a great place to start. Also, each of these schools has their own website, and there is a list of all those schools, about 20 schools on that list. And then also publicschooloptions.org. That's our website. And we try to keep a lot of the up-to-date what's going on. And you can actually search by your state, and that's publicschooloptions.org. That's the website for the National Coalition for Public School Options.
Okay, very good. Latricia, thanks so much for joining Chris and I today and for giving this very important information to so many parents who make up our listenership. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim and Chris. Thank you.
Thank you as well. All right there. Latricia Weber, National Coalition for Public School Options. Finally, Missouri's got some opportunities here.
Very interesting. And it's interesting that we have her on today because my nephew is going to a school that is not your traditional school. They learn subjects that they're interested in at their own pace. They don't have desks. It's a really unconventional school, and his parents feel that this is a best situation for his learning style. So he just started that today. So it was interesting to have this.
What a coincidence!
Teacher on talking about alternative learning.
So it's something that we tried to get done in Missouri for a long time. We lagged behind a lot of Republican states on this, and it's glad to see there's some progress. 5:41 here in the Heartland at 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. When we come back, you know what? We'd be happy to take your phone calls. We've been so busy today. I can't believe we're at the last segment of the show. We'd love to hear from you if you'd like to chime in. What about how about the Mark Mantovani County Council race against Sam Page? Would you like to weigh in on that? Are you happy about that news or not this week? Chris's corner on the railroad crisis, mine on fiddling while Rome burned, or anything that we've talked about or not yet today. Give us a holler, 314-912-1019, 314-912-1019. Our phone lines are open for you. Happy to talk to you when we come back at 101.9 94.1.
stack junior bacon cheeseburger or crispy chicken BLT, plus 4-piece nuggets, small fries, and a small drink. Grab your bag at Wendy's. U.S. price and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Alaska and Hawaii. Heads up, Cards fans, they just cleared an accident from the two right lanes eastbound 64 at Mason, and there was an earlier crash eastbound 64 before McKnight. Heavy volume almost back to Baxter at this point. Slow westbound 64 Hampton to 270, accident westbound 4064 at 364. Eastbound 70 stacks up O'Fallon Park to the Illinois Bank of the Museo Veterans Bridge. Heavy volume eastbound 64 from the Missouri Bank of the Poplar Street Bridge to the 5570 split. Southbound 55 lines up the 44 split to Bates, and a crash eastbound Route M at US 6167. I'm Tori Lyons from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton with your first alert forecast. Not quite as cool tonight, but still a mild night. Low down to 61. Lots of 50s in the outlying areas. Clear skies and a high of 87 degrees. It'll be another warm afternoon, but not too humid. Another nice day, really. But we're in the warming trend that just gets a little warmer each day we go. So Friday's high 89, partly cloudy skies. Will hit 90s by the weekend. That's the latest first alert forecast. I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Welcome home to St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Most Americans are now going to have even less money to spend.
Violence in our cities. Catch, release, repeat.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Selling your St. Louis area home is a big deal. It's one of the biggest financial transactions you will ever make. In St. Louis, call Gloria Liu with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. That's Gloria Liu with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. She'll do a great job for you. Gloria has mastered the home selling process to help you maximize the sale of your home in this crazy seller's market. Why, Miss Liu? Gloria already has the buyers. Thousands of them looking for homes in your neighborhood and your price range. Fact is, with Gloria Liu, your home may already be sold. And while most agents make big promises, Gloria will sell your home at the agreed price and time frame, or she will buy it, guaranteed in writing. So please call Gloria Liu today, 314-325-6888, 314-325-6888, or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
Start a podcast for your business today with Epic STL Podcasts. Engage existing and potential customers, build trust in your brand, and drive traffic to your business. Log on to newstalkstl.com and click on the Epic STL Podcast button to learn more.
Since 2007, the state of Missouri and local governments have handed out almost $5 billion in tax subsidies or abatements to private developers. That money could have gone to basic services like schools and public safety. And studies show these subsidies don't produce the promised jobs and growth. If developers want to build a sports stadium or shopping mall, why should they be given our tax dollars to do it? It's time to reform economic development subsidies. The Show Me message has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Adam, man, your aunt parties are the best. I mean, you always find the best kitchens with all the crumbs.
Thanks, man. I love finding these homes to do this at.
Oh, man, who just pulled up?
Oh, no, it's the pest control company again with those green wheels. They seem to kill every one of my parties.
Call All Solutions Pest Control today at 636-486-7888 and learn more about our special $67 introductory offer, or visit us online at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
We're hearing a lot about this new law coming to Illinois, and on Thursday's program, we're going to look into it. Are all suspects actually going to be let out of jail?
Mornings starting at 5:30 on News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to News Talk STL.
You and me, we come from
We won. You refused to concede and say that you lost. Do you stand by that decision today?
Absolutely. The election was not fair. The process was not fair.
Was the election in Georgia statewide a free and fair election?
It was not a free and fair election. But will I say that this election was not tainted, was not a disinvestment and a disenfranchisement of thousands of voters? I will not say that.
You notably did not concede.
I did not.
Okay, you acknowledged that he won, but you did not concede.
Correct.
5 months later, do you still feel like your opponent won through voter suppression?
Yes.
Based on what, Chris Arps? And why did she get to say that and nobody who supported Donald Trump can?
Yeah, I think this is an obvious Tony Colombo flip test here. You know, if you read or listen to any story regarding the 2020 election, and if you criticize the election results or the changing of election law without it being properly done, you're called an election denier. The stories always say there's quote unquote unsubstantiated claims of election fraud, or they'll say myths of election fraud. Those phrases are always used in these stories regarding the 2020 election. Why hasn't anyone asked Stacey Abrams to bring some type of proof or that the election was stolen from her? That's all we hear with the Trump situation. There's no proof. It's unsubstantiated. Where's the proof? She doesn't offer any proof at all. No one questions on her. I'm not surprised, of course, but this is a classic
Double
Tony
standard.
Colombo flip test right here.
What is she said that there was voter suppression whenever she and Brian Kemp ran for governor. Has she said what the voter suppression was? Has she ever said this is what I believe happened in Georgia that caused voter suppression? Because I don't know.
I'm going through memory and I can research it, but I think she was questioning voter registrations and people were being
You're right.
thrown off the rolls when they shouldn't have.
You're
I think
right.
that is her claim that why she lost.
She's basically challenging everyone to prove a negative, though, right?
Yeah.
She's basically saying, well, I lost because enough people didn't vote for me, but enough people didn't vote for me because they were prevented from voting.
Yeah.
How do you prove that?
That's
one way or the other?
basically her argument.
Right. And Chris, to your point, to further prove your point, which is extremely valid, there was a huge swath of Democrats that never accepted Bush v. Gore, right? Never. They never accepted that. Hillary Clinton, even though she conceded initially, she basically pulled that concession back and wrote a book about it and said, I think there was a lot of problems with election. They called Donald Trump a delegitimate president. So that's, you know what? I don't have a problem with that. You get to do whatever you want in this country under the aspects of free speech, as long as it's not, illegal, immoral, unethical. I guess if it's unethical, you can. But how come when we on the center right side of the aisle say anything about elections, we're called insurrectionists and that we're trying to dismantle democracy? But when they question elections, well, let's talk about that further.
Yeah.
Well, they're heroes. They're heroes for standing up.
They're sainted.
Yeah.
The liberals, of course, have a double standard. They're hypocritical, and I want to bring it on home locally to show their hypocrisy and talk about this St. Louis County race with Mark Mantovani against Sam Page. I was fortunate to work in 2011 on the Bill Corrigan campaign for county executive. Bill barely lost that race, I think by 3 or 4 points to county executive Charlie Dooley at that time. Bill Corrigan currently is a lawyer in St. Louis County. But Tim, every single article that the Post-Dispatch wrote about Bill Corrigan, I swear to God, I'm not making this up. They started it with Ladue lawyer Bill Corrigan.
Of course they
That
did.
was every story. The Post-Dispatch now is doing the same thing with Mantovani.
Oh.
I've read 3 stories already, and it is Mark Mantovani, Ladue businessman, running for county executive. I mean, they've got a fixation on if you're a Republican and are from Ladue, that's basically going to be part of your legal name. Is that, if you were living in Ladue,
Ladue.
Yeah, you'd be Tim Jones from Ladue.
Yes.
Katie Fitzpatrick from Ladue. I mean, it's so obvious. Why do we have to know that Mantovani's from Ladue? Why do we have to know that Bill Corrigan is from Ladue? Do you know where Sam Page lives?
No.
What
I have no
municipality
idea.
he lives in?
I have no idea.
Did you know where Stenger? I know Stenger had a house in Clayton, but he had another
I thought he was either South County or Clayton.
Did you know where Buzz Westfall lives?
No.
Okay.
I went to high school with his kids.
Oh, did you? So
yeah. I
think
did.
it's the
Yeah, no idea. No idea.
Yeah, why do they have to
Ledoux.
emphasize Ledoux lawyer, Ledoux businessman if you were a GOP
And you know what's funny?
candidate?
I wonder if they did that when he was running as a Democrat. I don't know or not.
You know, we'll have to look that up.
Yeah,
That'd be interesting.
And yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of conservatives in Ledoux, but you know what we also say about Ledoux? That's where all the limousine liberals are as well. You know, and yeah, I love how the Post like affixes a tag as if we're all supposed to know what that means. Suzanne's grandparents lived in Ledoux, and they were not wealthy.
Riding in limousines.
They were not. So her grandfather, great guy. He was I miss him. He was a big fan of mine. He thought it was great I was in politics. They passed away a number of years ago. He was an Army colonel. He was a colonel in the U.S. Army, served in Korea.
Wow.
And then he had a great career as an accountant. He was an accountant. So he wasn't like a wealthy business magnate or anything. They worked hard. And, you know, they bought a home in Ledoux back in the day.
Right.
It was a nice it was a ranch. It was a big ranch on some land, but not a lot of land. It was a very simple home that had probably been built in the 40s or 50s. So not all of Ledoux is full of McMansions to begin with, but that is what you're right, Chris. That's what they're trying to convey.
And I feel I need to apologize because, you know, I've let off 2 pet peeves today. One is people that send you LinkedIn requests just to send you a pitch. That irritates me. And I'm irritated that the Post-Dispatch always calls GOP candidates Ledoux businessman, Ledoux lawyer, Ledoux accountant.
I thought you were going to say the people from Ledoux.
Ledoux
My second pet peeve is Ledoux.
Hey, before I forget, because I will be on Newsmax tomorrow morning at 5:30, 6, and 7 on the Wake Up America program with Rob Trinity. Hopefully, I can be on with Hogan Gidley and
that'd be great.
And Mark, what's his name?
Halpern.
Halpern. I always enjoy being on with them. So 5:30, 6, and 7 Newsmax. Catch me in the morning.
Absolutely. Do that indeedy. So you all, I know, are watching the prequel. Is it new? Is it the prequel of Game of Thrones, House of Dragons?
Yeah.
And I am on the 3rd episode now, so I'm almost caught up to all y'all.
I have, you know what? I'm going to just say this. I heard, I didn't watch the episode, but I heard it got really weird, and I read it up on it. No spoilers. But
no spoilers.
You know what?
Yeah,
you know what I
really
keep
weird.
thinking? This is very HBO.
It is.
Yeah.
Well,
HBO pushing the envelope.
It is. It very
really
much is, but it is following the trajectory of the book.
Yeah.
So, like, even as we get down the rabbit hole.
Hey, you know what's cool?
This
It's
is
not.
what the book is
It's
like.
not weird in a woke way.
Yeah.
It's weird
really
in a good old fashioned blood, guts, gore, and
weirdo way.
sexual bizarreness way.
It's weird in a way of like, dude, she's 14.
Right.
That's
We
all.
just
That's all I'm
talked
going to
about
say.
this.
Allegedly 18 now.
That's all I'm going to say, dude. She's
just talked
14.
about it.
And so I think more people are going to gravitate to that series. And I'm trying to watch the
Rings of Power.
The Rings of Power.
It's good too.
Katie, it's kind of tough though because the characters, all the dudes in there, are a bunch of sissies.
Yeah.
And the Galadriel character is not the lovable Galadriel character that you found in the Lord of the Rings. She's kind of a
She's
snot.
she's a warrior too.
And
she's
also kind of a
bee.
Yeah.
Tim Becky rhymes with witch.
Tim Becky doesn't have any interest in it either. And she
I'm
reads.
trying.
She
reads
reads the books and are
Yeah.
all into it like you are and have read them and digested them. And she just doesn't have any interest in it.
I'm going to keep trying to slog through it, but I don't know if I can.
It's slow. It's
All right,
slow.
we got to get out of here, but the 6 o'clock hour is full of fantasticness, including Chris's Corner and Mike Ferguson, the one-eyed pirate. Will be joining us next year at 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
I'm gonna bow at you until I get my way. I'm gonna dance.
If you're concerned about the current market and the 40-year record high inflation that we're seeing, you're not alone.
Credit card usage skyrocketing and at record highs, savings rates